Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Kris. This is Seerah part 57, the Battle of Khandaq. Ahzab, it sounds like Ahzab. Trench Confederates part 2. This video is sponsored by Yasin Muhammad. This is after the other video that we just finished. We will get into this. We'll break this down into 3 18-minute or so parts. All right. It's been a busy week. I've been out trying to till up a big section for putting in a garden. And it's been difficult. Tilling up is fine, but it wears on your forearms. Just holding this machine is just... And then the rain came in, so I wasn't able to use the machine. So I was out trying to use this little... I don't know what it's called. It's like a little tiller, but you use your hands. And that was difficult. And I just wore myself out all week. And now it's Saturday and I'm going to relax. But I was like, oh, yeah, I can't. I have a ton of videos that I got to get done. I have all the videos for next week and the week after done. But I got to get these done. And then this is Saturday. Saturday the 5th. It's just after noon. And next Saturday, I will be just walking out of a tour that I'm going to be going on with my nephew. It's going to be for Andrew Jackson's home. So for those who are interested, it's 7th president. I'm going to record it and try to make some videos out of it. If you're not interested, you're not interested. All right, let's get into this video. Okay.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So we're talking about the Battle of Khandaq, also called the Battle of Ahzab. And in our last week, we had talked about the fact that the Prophet ﷺ, it was suggested to him by Salman al-Farsi to dig the trench. And the Prophet ﷺ immediately assigned people various portions to dig, and according to one report in Ibn Sa'd, he actually drew the line. He actually went and he demarcated. He showed the people where the trench would be drawn, and therefore the Prophet ﷺ basically took in charge of the logistics as we expect him to do. And for some reason, now I have looked up in the books of Seerah, and it is not mentioned why. For some reason, there seemed to have been a food shortage from the very beginning of the trench. From the very beginning. And Allah knows best, but perhaps the reason is multiple. Number one, the Battle of the Trench took place in winter. It took place in winter. And therefore, obviously the fruits are not growing at the time. So they have to rely on their stores. Number two, they hadn't prepared for a siege. They had not prepared for the fact that they wouldn't be getting supplies. Number three, the people are no longer able to engage in commerce and trade. Everybody's busy digging the trench, so the supplies dwindled. Because we learned from the very first days that there's a food shortage, right? Now, why this is the case, I haven't found any of the books of Seerah mentioning why. Why is it that the first 3-4 days of digging the trench, the Sahaba don't have food to eat? But we kind of have to guess. We have to think about the reasons, and Allah knows best. But this took them by such surprise that all their caravans in and out are stopped, that they have not prepared themselves to stock all of these food from beforehand. We know for a fact that it was winter season. Winter season is the most difficult season anyway, in terms of there's no fruit being harvested. Already things are difficult, especially the cold of Medina. And there are so many stories narrated about the miracles that took place with regards to food and during the Battle of the Khandaq. And a number of reports take place. Bukhari mentions, Sahih Bukhari, he mentions that the Sahaba would only have dried barley with oil that they would have to mix together. Imagine dried barley and just a little bit of oil to make it just something to eat, something edible to eat. And they themselves said, this report says that this had a bad odor, we just had to ignore it as we ate it. Whatever it was, we just had to eat it. And Jabir narrates that sometimes they would only find the pits of dates to eat. So they would just take the pits of dates. And in another hadith we learn that once the Prophet ﷺ was digging in the trench, and as he put his hand up, his shirt came up, and Jabir said, I saw that there was a big rock tied to his stomach. There was a rock tied to the Prophet's stomach, and as I have explained many times, in those days when they were hungry, they would tie a rock to their stomach and make it very tight. And this would psychologically make them feel as if they have something. And because the stomach is also wound tight, so they don't feel the gnawing pangs of hunger. And our Prophet ﷺ did this quietly. Nobody knew, only when he was digging and he's doing manual labor with the rest of them. So he lifted his shirt and they saw this. Jabir said, I saw this rock that he had. And
I've never heard of that before. Tie a rope around your waist and then the rock. Never heard of that before. I've heard, now, I mean, clearly this probably isn't an option, but I've heard if you don't have food, drink a ton of water. Just keep drinking water, because that will confuse your brain to think, oh, good, food, and then it passes the water and it's like, I'm still hungry though. And then the stomach, the brain tells the stomach, yeah, that wasn't food, stupid. And the stomach's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna be hungry again. So you just keep drinking water, and the brain's just like, yeah, the stomach's stupid. We'll just keep making it feel like it. And the stomach's like, finally got what I wanted. And then the brain's like, well, you've been fooled like 9 times today, stupid. So yeah, I've heard that. That, by the way, the conversation between the brain and the stomach is, that is a direct quote from some doctors in the medical field, I'm pretty sure.
Jabir narrates, and Jabir was newly married. He was probably 17, 18 at the time. Remember, he just got married a year and a half ago. We talked about the hadith of Jabir and the camel. Remember, this is the same Jabir ibn Abdullah. And so this is the battle of the Khandaq, and that's basically a year and a half after marriage. And so Jabir came back to his wife saying that, I have seen something, la taqata li, I don't have the strength to bear it. That I saw the Prophet in this state. What do you have at home? So she said, we only have a little bit of bread and we have a small goat that typically should not be sacrificed. It's still small there. That's all that we have. So he said, Khalas, prepare the bread. I will sacrifice the goat. Baby, it's like a year or something old. It's not the goat that you would sacrifice. Just a little bit of meat is going to come out. So he said, okay, we will just do this so that we can feed the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so the wife basically kneaded the dough. She cooked a little bit of the barley. Jabir sacrificed this little goat and then cooked it. And then he came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, Sarartuhu, I whispered to him, right, that Ya Rasulullah, my wife has just prepared some ta'am, so why don't you and 1 or 2 people, because it's a kid goat, right? You and 1 or 2 people come and we can eat on this food. And of course, this is when that funny incident took place.
I have a feeling he's not going to want it, because if the rest of the people can't eat, then he won't eat. That's my guess.
That the Prophet ﷺ stood up and he said, Ya Ahla Khandaq, Jabir and his wife have prepared a meal for us. Right? And فَحَيَّ هَلَّا بِكُمْ, all of you welcome. فَحَيَّ هَلَّا بِكُمْ, يَاللَّا bismillah tafaddal, all of you. Right? And Jabir went running back to his wife that, what are we going to do now? We have, only this much food. And his wife said, did you tell them or did the Prophet tell them? Wives, did you say this? Or did the Prophet make the announcement? And so Jabir said, I didn't make the announcement, the Prophet made it. And so his wife, her iman was so strong, she said, basically, in that case, khalas, he did it, he's going to take care of it. You told him 1 or 2, he went and announced, so don't worry, that's not going to be an issue. And the Prophet ﷺ was the one who first came to the food, and he told them, do not open the pot until I come. He told Jabir this. Do not lift the pot until I get there. And then when he went to the house of Jabir, the pot was still on the stove that the meat was cooking in, and the Prophet ﷺ made dua and he spit into it, and his spit, as you know, is barakah, and he made dua over the bread, and then he told 10 people to come into the room because the room could only house 10 people, and every one of them came and they ate and then left, and another 10 came and ate and left, and they kept on doing this until every single one had eaten to his full. One of the narrators way later on, he asked Jabir, roughly how much do you think we would have been? So he said around 1,000 people. The whole people of the Khandaq, right? They ate from this one pot and this one bread. And of course this is numerous times in the seerah, but perhaps in terms of sheer quantity, this incident perhaps is the most. In terms of sheer quantity, that food for one, and then he said bring one or two with you, right? One or two with you. So 2 or 3 people were supposed to come and eat, and it ended up being the entire Ahl Khandaq had come to eat to their full. And there are many other miracles narrated. This is not the only miracle of food. There are similar, at least 3 or 4. We don't have to go into the details of each Sahabi, but the same thing, that a small amount of food, and our Prophet ﷺ takes this food and he asks Allah to bless it. And of course this is the essence of what barakah means. Barakah means an increase in good, ziyadatul khair. This is what barakah means, an increase in good. And this incident truly demonstrates, when we ask Allah, Allahumma barik lana fi ahlina, barik lana fi malina, barik lana fi waqtina, Allahumma barik lana fi kulli ma razaqtana. What does it mean, barik lana? It means whatever we have, if it's $1, let it stretch out so that it acts like $100, right? If we have 1 hour, let us do the work of 10 hours in that 1 hour. This is what barakah means, ziyadatul khair, right? And we ask Allah to give us barakah.
Okay. So if it's $1, make it spread. Make sure that you get everything you can. Don't just. And if you're going to say, okay, at 3 o'clock, we're going to work from 3 to 4, and we are going to work, you make everything worth it then. And everyone knows a start and a finish, just like that $1. Instead of getting 7 items, I can get 11 over here. These 11 more people, greater chance that we're going to be able to use this 11 for whatever. I'm thinking like food. Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. And if you're in a situation like this, you have to. Everything. I'm glitching a little bit. I apologize. You have to spread it out. It has to be worth it. Otherwise, you're just going to waste it.
Barakah in all that He has given us. Because when Allah gives us barakah, that $1 doesn't act like $1. It will act like an infinite amount, just like one plate fed 1,000 people. This is the essence of barakah. And so the quantity appears to remain the same, but the quality of it, right? That's what is given. And this is why we make dua to Allah. And this is of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that give me barakah in all that you have given me, give it with barakah. And this is the meaning of, by the way, tabarak as well. Tabarak alladhi, tabarak Allah. This is of the meanings of tabarak, that barakah comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there's at least 3 or 4 stories about food increasing, and the story of Jabir is really the most significant of them. Also, of the miracles reported in the hadith of the Khandaq, in the hadith of digging the trench, was that once the Sahaba came across a stone that was in the very line that the Prophet ﷺ had drawn. He had shown them this line, and so the Sahaba, one after the other, they entered into the trench and they kept on hacking away, but the stone would not break. And some of them said, let us just go around the stone. But then one said, no, until we ask the Prophet ﷺ, because he's the one who showed us this line. So subhanAllah, look at how meticulously they followed his sunnah, right? That look, it's just a stone, go around it. Okay, the trench is not going to be harmed if you go around it and you leave the stone there. But they said, no, he's the one who told us this line, let us go tell him, then let him tell us to go around the stone, right? So when they told him this, the Prophet ﷺ said, give me the axe, give me the axe. And so they gave him the axe, and he descended into the trench, and he was the one who said, Bismillah, Allahu Akbar. And then he hit it once. He hit it once, and with one hit, 1/3 of the stone crumbled. 1/3 of the stone crumbled. And when it crumbled, he said, Allahu Akbar, قد أوتيت مفاتيح الشام. Allahu Akbar, I have just seen that Allah has given me the keys to Sham, Syria, right? Allah has given me the keys to Syria. By Allah, I can see the red castles in Syria. I can see them now. And of course, the very first land that was captured after the death of the Prophet ﷺ, beginning in the reign of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was the first in his Khilafah. He was so eager to get to Sham. He was so eager to get to Sham. In his own Khilafah, the very last days of his Khilafah was when the battle was taking place, and then the very first days of the Khilafah of Umar was when Sham and Jerusalem was conquered. And so the very first stone, he said, I have seen Syria, Allahu Akbar. Then he hit it again. Bismillah, he hit it again. And then he said, Allahu Akbar, I have been given the keys to Faris, Persia. And I can see the white pillars of Madain now. These white pillars are the pillars of, they are called Ctesiphon, C-T-E-S-I-P-H-I-O-N, Ctesiphon. This was the capital of Iran, the capital of the ancient Sassanid Empire. And to this day, those pillars are towering high to the skies. That was the capital of the Sassanid Empire. And the Prophet was saying, and he's never seen it in his life, but he's saying, I can see the white pillars of Madain. Right now I can see them. And indeed, the very second land after Faris, right? After Sham, the very second land that was conquered was what? Was the land of Faris, right?
All right, sorry about that. I was looking them up to see if I could see what they looked like, and I cannot find. I find pictures, but I don't know if that's the one. I found like 4 pillars. It looks like the area has been completely destroyed, so I just didn't know, and I didn't want to go back as to what he was spelling it out. So I tried.
There was Yarmouk and Qadisiyah. These were the 2 big battles in the reign of Umar ibn al-Khattab. And as we said so many times, this was and it still remains a miracle that is inexplicable. You cannot explain it from a human perspective. How could it be that a group of, militarily backward, right? Uneducated to the level of those civilizations, Bedouins from the desert come and they carve out half of the Roman Empire and they destroy the Sassanid Empire overnight. بين عشية وضحاها. Wallahi, it's unbelievable. And to this day, no historian can give a sound explanation. They have their million theories, but at the end of the day, this is clearly one of the greatest miracles for us of the truthfulness of Islam, that these Sahaba, they were less in number, they didn't have the armor, they didn't have anything, and our Prophet ﷺ is predicting it. There, you're going to conquer Sham, then you're going to conquer Mada'in, you're going to conquer Faris, and then in the third strike, and the third strike crumbled the entire stone. He said, Allahu Akbar, I have been given the keys to Yemen. I have been given the keys to Yemen, and wallahi, I can see the doors of Sana'a. Sana'a was a city that had a fortress around it, or not a fortress, but the walls around it. And he said, I can see the doors of Sana'a from this maqam of mine, I can see it. And of course, Yemen as well was conquered during the lifetime of the Prophet, and partially and then completely in the reign of the Khulafa. And so all of these three lands are the lands surrounding Arabia, and our Prophet ﷺ predicted every one of them would be conquered. Another prediction that the Prophet ﷺ gave while he was doing the trench or digging the trench was that he saw Ammar ibn Yasir doing double the work of everybody else. Ammar ibn Yasir, he was doing double the work of everybody else, and Ammar was that type of enthusiastic and strong young man, especially after what he had seen of his parents in Mecca and the shahada of his father and his mother. Ammar was a very determined young man, and so he saw Ammar covered in dust and covered and tired and hungry and whatnot, and he said that, may Allah have mercy on you, O Ammar, تقتلك الفئة الباغية. The what? لا, there's two narrations, this one and that one. مرتين حصل. That the Prophet ﷺ said to Ammar ibn Yasir, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy on you, the fi'at al-baghiya will execute you or will kill you. The fi'at al-baghiya means the group that has gone outside of the law. Right, the group that has gone outside of the law. And this hadith, of course, it came true in the reign of Ali ibn Abi Talib when the two armies fought, and the closer to the truth was Ali ibn Abi Talib, as we believe that Ali ibn Abi Talib was the one who was closer to the truth, and Muawiyah made an ijtihad, and Allah Azza wa Jal will forgive him, radiyallahu anhu. We only say good of the Sahaba. But Ammar ibn Yasir was on the side of Ali. He was on the side of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the forces of Muawiyah shot an arrow and it killed Ammar right in the neck. It killed Ammar, and they took this as a sign, the people of Ali, they took this as a sign that they are upon the truth, because everybody remembered the hadith of Ammar ibn Yasir, that the group that has gone outside of the law. Now notice, he didn't say, astaghfirullah, the kafir group. He didn't say the evil group. This is a group that did something technically illegal. They disobeyed the Khalifa. This is illegal, right? And it is incorrect. But he made an ijtihad, Muawiyah radiallahu an, and Allah Azza wa Jal will forgive him for that ijtihad. He was sincere, we believe, and the other group was closer to the truth. So the prediction of Ammar ibn Yasir being killed by the Fi'at al-Baghiya. Now this hadith, scholars have differed. Some have said that it took place during the building of the first masjid, and the fact of the matter is both narrations occur. And so some have said that it occurred twice, because there are certain narrations that suggest that this occurred when they were building the masjid. Then there were other narrations that suggest it occurred in the building of the Khandaq, and then other scholars say the prediction was given twice, both in the building of the Prophet's masjid and in the building of the Khandaq. Ibn Sa'ad mentions that there were around 4,000 people from the Quraysh that had taken part. And so therefore this is far larger than Uhud, it is far larger than Badr. Everything has been now, this is the largest force that Quraysh had ever assembled in their history. 4,000 only from the Quraysh and the outlying tribes, just the Quraysh and the outlying tribes. Then 300 horses and 150 camels. And then he mentions the Banu Sulaym had 700, the Banu Fizara had 1,000, the Banu Ashja' 400, the Banu Murrah 400, and the list goes on. The point being, there were lots of other tribes, and this is why it is called Ahzab. The reason why this is called Ahzab, Ahzab means the Confederates. Ahzab means the alliance, right? كُلُّ حِزْبٍ بِمَا لَدَيْهِمْ فَرِحُونَ. Every group is happy. Hizb. Hizb, the plural of Hizb is Ahzab. And Ahzab means the groups, right? So the reason why this war is called the War of Ahzab was that it wasn't just Quraysh. It was lots of different groups, 400 here, 200 here, 1,000 here. The max was Quraysh, 4,000 Quraysh. And therefore the Quraysh had the biggest say, but there was no one unified leader. And this proved to be the disaster. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala used to split them up. Because وَيَمْكُرُونَ وَيَمْكُرُ اللَّهُ وَاللَّهُ خَيْرُ الْمَاكِرِينَ. Allah's plan will be successful. And because there was no unity, they easily fragmented apart. They easily broke apart. There was no one leader that they all agreed to. Rather, there was an alliance. There was a treaty. There was a confederate. And because the Confederate collapsed, as we're going to come to, this is why they turned back. The overall plan was that the Muslims would camp such that their backs were to a mountain that is called the mountain of Sila, Jabal Sila. And they're facing the trench, and their backs are towards Jabal Sila, and Medina is in their direction of the back. And it was during this time, we don't know exactly when the Prophet ﷺ suggested that the women and children, all of them, they go to one of the areas, as we said, where one of the Ansar had a somewhat large fortress. All of the women and children go inside that fortress, which is called Al-Fari', as we said. And the reason for this was the Prophet ﷺ was worried about the treachery that might come from the Banu Qurayza. Now,
went a little past, but he was explaining, so I didn't want to cut him off. We're going to end that here. This is part 1. We'll be back with part 2. I got to get some more iced tea and some lemonade. I wanted popcorn for a second, but I'm not going to have any. Do I want to have some popcorn? Popcorn does sound good. All right, well, if I'm back eating popcorn, then about 25 minutes went by. If I'm not eating popcorn, then probably 3 minutes went by. What's going to happen? We don't know. We don't know. We're going to find out in the next video, aren't we? I'll know before you do, but you'll find out then. So until next time, have a good day, have a good night.